The beats that Casey can't even hear.
Nope. No beats.
Tell ya, it's brutal. The people can hear the beats. All right, so we're live everywhere but Facebook. But Facebook, we're going to be live soon. And now we're live on Facebook. So Facebook, welcome to the stream. If you're watching anywhere else, welcome to the stream. It is Pat Hilton and Casey Huff. Wacky Wednesday on Social Authority.
What's up?
The greatest show on earth. The greatest show you've never heard of. So, when it comes to the internet and social media, there's so much crazy stuff that you can watch. And I think it's good that I'm not that. We were kind of talking about that before. I like to do crazy stuff, and I'm sure it'll get crazier as time goes on. But with what we're trying to create in our niche and in our community is like-minded people that want to do good business and that want to buy businesses or buy real estate properties, and meet people that are trying to build something and build themselves. And so I think you just get what you put out there sometimes. And so when it comes to internet content, I've changed a lot over the last few years from what I used to post to what I post now. And every category of my life has improved when I stopped trying too hard to just entertain people and started focusing way more on providing people actual value with my entertainment and production skills. And so the more I do that, I think the more I'm going to attract good energy and positive results. And so that's why it's so important to just put it out there for free so that everybody can watch. So Casey Huff, real estate investor here in the great state of Texas. And what are you focusing on this week at the new office when it comes to your operation?
Right now is we created a huge bottleneck on our operations side because our marketing and acquisitions team crushed it in February. We contracted 21 properties to buy last month.
All right, you got to repeat it because your volume's cutting out. So you might need to jiggle the cable there or something. You got to jiggle your cable.
All that water I've been drinking.
Well, welcome to the life and death of audio people. Yeah, that sounds better now.
All right, that better?
Yeah. So
Okay.
start over with the properties and all of that jazz that you guys are working on this week.
Yeah, so we've created a bottleneck in the operations side this week because the month of February, we acquired 21 new deals. And so, getting those ready on assigning project managers and agents and everything like that, we've really dialed in our processes, and now we're seeing that we're short on people to kind of handle the load that we've, brought upon ourselves with this heavy acquisition.
Well, I mean, and this is really the only way to test the fences, right? And figure out how big you can go is to push the borders there, push the limits.
Yeah, we're constantly stretching the rubber band. So, it's something new every day. We're trying to acquire 1 to 2 a day. So it's just all gas all the time.
Well, and I think that people underestimate the amount of work that it takes to get any type of a great result at anything. And number two, people underestimate the amount of work it takes to sustain that momentum and duplicate said result. And I think that that's why over the course of the next few years, again, the people that are putting out good energy and communicating well with the marketplace, especially in social platforms, are going to be the people that everybody finds and that get the most deal flow. And this isn't just something that I'm like predicting. This is how it already is. This is how it already works. Is people meet each other on socials, platforms. They see what somebody's doing. They see how they can add value. This is how consulting for equity deals are being made. This is how people are buying companies. People just go on Biz Buy Sell now, and you can look for a company, an HVAC company between $3 and $5 million, and start looking and shopping for buying a company. Just like you can shop for real estate. Any idiot can go on Redfin, right?
Yeah.
Even Pat, the Google man, can go and be a real estate investor or think he's a business acquisition guy, but you got to be careful because if you don't know those borders or those boundaries like you do now, well, then you're way over the line without even knowing it. And that's why the community aspect of all of this and the social aspect of anything you want to do in life is so important. There's like Harvard studies here, and I had the statistic a week ago when I shared it, and I could probably Google it now again, that shows that like up to 90% of your success is directly related to the people that are around you.
No,
So
I mean,
if you're a
that-
real estate person and like you don't know anyone else that does real estate, or only people that you know do real estate, like both of those things, you know, they're significant. The more that you get down the rabbit hole of people that are actually doing what you do. You know, we had a guest, he's going to be here again today, Tim Harridge, and he's been doing this in Dallas for a long time. He's like, dude, you'd think that the people that have been around for 20 years was a lot of them, but you could actually fit them in this room.
Yeah.
So the long game players are always the ones that outlast everybody else, like the tortoise and the hare. You know, anybody can have a big pop. It can happen to anybody, but how do they sustain that success?
Yeah, I mean,
And in real estate,
it's-
the market's constantly changing. So what does the market look like right now? If I'm going to try and make money in real estate this week, what am I looking at?
I mean, I think the market stayed the same as it has been. It's just we're seeing that when you put out a good quality product in a good location with the right pricing and the right marketing when you're selling it, stuff actually sells like it's supposed to. It's actually pretty quick. You know, if you know what you're doing, things kind of work and flow. So like for us, it's been good. You know, there's a few dogs that we have that we're slowly, you know, knocking them down and trying a different exit strategy on. But I mean, when you do the volume that we do, not every single purchase, every single acquisition is going to be perfect. So, but yeah, I mean, the market for us right now I feel is just as strong as it was, you know, 2-3 years ago. Now we're not having that appreciation gain, you know, when you close on it, and by the time you flip it, it's appreciated, you know, 10, 15, 20 grand. But, yeah, those days are gone. But
There was a nice
yeah.
little spike there for a while, wasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well-
Properties here were appreciating so fast. You know, it was nice. Everybody won. Like you had to be an idiot to lose. So,
Well, I think that this entire Texas scene, and I noticed it even as a touring musician 20 years ago, is that we could book so many shows coming through Texas. There were so many places to play because the place is freaking huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, being a band from Missouri, it's like, well, where are we going to go play? We might as well go play in Oklahoma and Texas because they're right next door. And Texas is like its own country.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
So it's like, let's go rock down there. Those people love us. And so, I mean, that we toured through Texas. We always toured through Texas. And now it's kind of funny because back then I would have been like, oh, I'd never really live in Texas. And now I'm like, why would I want to live anywhere else?
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Yeah. No, 100%.
Because I just think that the economy has shifted to a point where people are looking at multiple different categories now when they look for a place to live. It's not just weather. You know, if you're a weather person, I lived in San Diego because I loved the weather and there's a ton of potential out there. But I feel like economically, America has changed to, well, now I'm looking at what kind of tax am I going to pay? Texas wins in that category.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, Texas wins in like 8 out of 10 categories. California is way prettier and has nicer weather. But like, hey, you know, it's just like a beautiful smile on a woman. If she's brain dead, you got to go. You got to leave her. Sorry, honey.
Wow.
You know, you're
Wow.
pretty, but you got to go. And so, you know, it's a tough bargain. But it's just like anything else. It's just like client acquisition. It's just like customer acquisition. It's just like business. You got to be able to look at all the different categories and make a decision instantly. And I personally think, and Martell says this, the people that are successful, like, make decisions and go.
Yep.
They make decisions and they go.
So, you know, I was a little nervous. Let's see, last Friday, I let go half of my VA staff, my cold call team, my data pullers and everything like that. And we just really dialed down based on what my data told me. And this week, we've actually had better leads. We've had more leads. And like the business is just much more simple by analyzing my data, looking at the facts, and then just pulling the trigger and going.
Well, dude, I mean, we haven't had to hire a gazillion more editors or anything because our editors are already really good inside the agency. Plus, we've taught them how to use AI tools. So now one great editor is like as powerful as 5 people,
Yeah,
which has
that
completely
helps a lot.
it's created an efficient system, not just for them, because now they can spend more time doing whatever else they want to do because their output is 5 times what it would have been without those tools. So why wouldn't I want to supply my team with the tools that they need to succeed? This is where AI meets human, because the AI tools, they can't do it just by themselves. I can't just drop this video into AI and have it do the rest of the work I need to have it show up on your account and sound good, feel good, and be edited right. That doesn't exist yet. Maybe it will one day, which will, again, just make our job even easier. But someone still has to talk. Someone still has to provide value. Someone still has to have, some way to get a hold of them so that you can make money in the real world, right? Because the point of social media is to do stuff in the real world socially together. I know these are like revelations for some people that might be watching here, but that's the whole point of doing all of this is so we can communicate and meet up with each other and like do deals or whatever. Eat a double steak, bowl, because we're trying to hit those macros. But like, what kind of goals do people have this year? For you, you're trying to get to a whole nother level in real estate. And I think that it's part of the reason why I ask you stuff about pop culture. And it's funny that I'm going to say this, but it's like when I ask my wife about rock bands, like if it's not Journey and Don't Stop Believin', she probably has no idea what the song is, no matter which one I ask her. And since I know like tons of stuff about rock bands and stuff, it's good because me explaining it to her, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that I knew this much shit about rock and roll bands. And it's just like this with business people. Most business people don't think like an entertainer or a band or we got to go play some shows. Like that's fun for people like me. And then for some people, it's like, dude, I just want to sit in the back and watch the show.
Yeah, those are your gurus.
When really, those are the people that really should be on the stage. And in business, I've noticed that sometimes that's not how it is. Oftentimes it's not. The guy in the corner knows way more than the guy that's up on stage bouncing around that just, lost his whole entire fortune and family because of wholesaling. And that guy's speaking and the other guy, I'm like, there's a crossroads happening where that is getting phased out. And the new generation of business investors and real estate investors are coming into the mix. And it's a way more chill, less ego, less rah-rah environment. And I've noticed it even at events. I don't have to bounce around on stage and do crazy shit anymore because it's actually not the conversation tone of the event. And it's not the communication style of the main speaker. And it makes the job way easier for me because I don't have to try so hard to entertain everybody. We're just there to do deals.
Yeah.
And so it's
Imagine
like, imagine that. And so I think social media is going to change to more of deal making conversations and less everything else. And it's already started because of people that live stream, like RJ live streams 8-9 hours a day doing deals. He likes to cold call people. He's psycho. And we all know that and love him for that. Not everybody wants to cold call people all day. So when it comes to cold calling, since you did let people go, what are you going to do for that?
No, so we still are cold calling. It's just
well, of course you are, but like, how is that being covered
back
now? And is it the same output, or did you even want that output?
No. So what I did, I pretty much just went in and audited all of the results that we've gotten over the last 6 months, and I look for trends and patterns. And then I realized, my I have a data team that goes in and pulls data every single night and gives it to us to market to the next day. And I just saw the pattern that there were two very specific sets of data that was producing 90% of the results. And so everything else that we were doing was just, I think over 6 months, it only gave me 2 deals. And so that's where a bulk of my labor was going to. And that's where I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to cut cold calling all of this other data. We're just going to focus on the 2 sources that produce us the most leads and deals. And then I'm just going to dial up my direct mail because I also split test and do a lot of that. And so that's where I'm going to make up that drop in deal flow from the cold calling I'm not doing now, if that makes sense. So
no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So we were doing around probably 4 or 5 deals a month just from manual dialing. They copy paste the phone number in and call it, not on a multi-line dialer. And so by cutting that back, I'm expecting probably to do 3 or 4. And then with turning up mail, we're going to suck up that difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is when you first start, you don't have any data. So you're just trying to pay the rent. And then it's like you start doing okay. And then you get to a point where you can't really do anything and still try and grow or maintain and fulfill. So you got to bring people on. And then you get to a point where, okay, well, that's working well. Now it's like, we're like a real business here. We're like a real company.
And I think the biggest part that a lot of
people get stuck right there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is like a real company. What do I do now?
Where a lot of companies are failing is I feel they find success in one lead source, like PPL, PPC, Facebook ads, just cold calling, just SMS blasting. So they find one thing that works and then they just keep going really, really hard at it. But what happens is the trends slowly change. Texting was huge. Now you can't do it. They made it much more difficult. Cold calling's been huge. Now that's becoming more difficult. PPL's totally changed the game on PPC and Facebook ads and stuff like that. So all of those pretty much one marketing source companies, those are the ones that are failing right now, is because that one thing that they grew their business on, the times have changed and they never changed with it. And so I've always made sure that I've had multiple channels of marketing. So as one shuts down or one gets harder, I can easily just flip the switch to another one.
Yeah, that's smart. And you know me as the typical monkey on everyone's shoulder with the symbols.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? Chim Chim. Remember Chim Chim the monkey? No, of course you don't. It's pop culture. So anyway, dude, that's why you got to have a social media brand. No one can take it away from you. If people know who you are, they know what you do, they know what you stand for, they know you're the real estate guy, well, then you're always going to have the opportunity to continue that conversation with people online and offline. And people are always going to know. They go to your page. Well, every week, Casey's talking about his deal flow. Every week, he's talking about this. Every week, he's talking about that. And every day he's posting. It's like, you're now one of the people who's setting the example or the standard in the category of consistency on social media that everyone's probably looking at. And they're like, dude,
hey,
I should be posting.
What is
or the workout people. You always see the guy with his abs. And it's like, does he have to take his shirt off? And I'm like, I don't know. I would probably take my shirt off too, And so use those moments when you're looking at somebody who's crushing it and you're like, it's not that you're sneering at them, but you're looking at yourself and you're saying, oh man, I'm capable of so much more. Allow yourself to think, man, I'm capable of so much more, and see those results in people and notice in yourself how much more work you're capable of doing to get to that point. Because if somebody can do it and you know them, you can probably do it too. You just have to figure out how they're doing it. Ask them how they're doing it. If you see somebody like Casey that's doing deals, some people are like, it's so hard in real estate right now, it's terrible. And then there's other people that I've watched for years. They're like, dude, we're finding deals. Discount. Yeah. It's all about how you buy.
It's almost I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to jinx it. But man, it's not hard.
Well, any of these things we talk about, they're simple formulas. What's hard is showing up and doing it like every second of every day, like a crazy person, because that's really what it takes to actually be good at anything. Is you got to be like crazy.
Yep. You got to show up and just and put your head down and go. And then if you don't succeed today, do it tomorrow, and then the next day.
That's the thing about someone like you with your operation, is that you know it inside and out, and it can be difficult to translate that to other people and get them to step into certain roles because of the expectation that you have, because that expectation right now, it's of you. And so you know that you can execute something at X, Y, or Z level, but handing that off to people, that can be really freaking difficult. And so those people coming into those roles have to understand, what the output is capable, what they're capable of. And we have to show them that. And that can be hard. Even for me, I'm like, how do you guys not know how to do X or Y or Z? And then I pull up my computer and I'm like, zoom, 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 zoom. And they're like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, you didn't really explain it very well, Pat. So of course they didn't really know how to do it like you do it, because you didn't explain to them in a while, maybe, exactly how you're doing it right now compared to when you showed them originally.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
every single
hard.
opportunity, every single opportunity that we have, for coaching, we try to look at it, one or two ways. Is it a process problem or is it a people problem? And so we always look at ourselves first and say, did we clearly explain and define the process for this person to follow? If no, then we stop right there and it's on us to fix it and get it going. But if the process is in place, then it's a people problem. And then that's whenever we go to that team member and address the issue, try to come up with a solution, make sure it doesn't happen again, and then document it. And then, hopefully it never happens again. But I mean, if it does, then, it's kind of like a 2-strike system.
Right. Well, yeah. And sometimes it's just an efficiency thing. It's not that somebody doesn't know how to do it. It's that sometimes you got to pick up the baseball bat and crank one into the bleachers and be like, see how simple that was? And then they understand how it works. Because, dude, with anything, I mean, Tiger Woods is Tiger Woods for a reason, man. I mean, he can try all day to clone himself. I think his son's already really good at golf. Maybe his son will be really, really good. But again, there's only one Tiger Woods, regardless of how great his son ever is. Like, people will always remember Tiger Woods too. But those people are special people, because again, that dude is crazy about how much time and how much effort he puts in. Because he didn't just come out of nowhere as like a young dude and start cranking off on Jack Nicklaus's records and putting green jackets on because he didn't practice. I think people, again, they underestimate how much work it's really going to take to get to any level. And that's why,
But it's because the people that misinform on social media, on stages, on these ads that you see all over, YouTube, if you don't have the paid subscription like me, they make it seem so easy. It's like, even on Instagram, the algorithm's like, here's 10 ways that I make $10,000 a month, but you're going to keep on scrolling. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know, that's just what so many people try to lead others to believe to line their pockets.
Yeah. If someone's main business is selling you on how to run a business, then you usually got a problem. That's why I do all this stuff. It's just free. I give people the content. I give people as much education as I can to be confident on camera. And then they're either going to do it or they're not. And you got to understand that people are going to make decisions to either do something or not do something. And I can't help people that don't want to do it. And so the easiest way to separate yourself from the people that don't want to do
You just charge
it.
those people that don't want to do it. That's all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how they make their money. Like, I don't even want to do it, but I guess I'll pay for this real estate training. And that's just ridiculous. It's like, just go hang out with people that are doing deals. Go ride in someone's car that's showing houses for a day. And I bet you that education, I'm sure if you live in Dallas, I could find you multiple realtors that would probably take you out and show you how to show a property if you don't dress like a slob and you're willing to show up on time. But most people aren't willing to put themselves in the passenger seat and ask questions because I don't know why. Maybe I was just so baked and like dumb and honest back in the day that when I was asking people like these big speakers questions, I didn't care if I looked like an idiot, because if I didn't ask them the right questions, I was going to be singing in the bar for $100 forever. So you better think of the right questions to ask. How do I get out of this situation I'm in?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't want to do the work, and some of them might not know what work to do.
They don't know what the work to do. That was what I was going to say.
They're not willing to do the work without knowing when the payoff's going to come. I think that's a majority of everybody's problems is like, if you do this, you're going to have less than 10% body fat and you're going to be ripped. Okay, well, how long do I have to do that? I don't know. But like, your body will tell you. So 3 months, 6 months, 9 months,
forever.
What? Who cares? I'm just going to keep going until I hit it. So
yeah, it's like you have to be willing to commit to it for as long as it's going to take. And dude, trust me,
it's a blind commitment.
It is. I'm still coming out with music, and I'm in my 40s, and who knows? I don't know if I'll ever be some kind of freaking sold out arena guy. Probably not. Maybe. Might still happen. There's plenty of arenas out there. But at the same time, it's like, well, if I don't put any songs that I wrote out, then definitely nobody's ever going to sing them. So I'm willing to invest in that and then just give it to people. Well, cool. If you guys like it, then you can listen to it as much as you want, and then watch our shows, and then come to the mastermind or come do a deal with us. Because again, trying to sell music to people is not something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not in the business of trying to make money off music. I like music and I'll always play music. But I think that people who are artists and creators have an opportunity right now more than ever to be able to have musical and creative freedom and not have the ties of all these companies that own all the catalogs and put out whatever they want if they're willing to use their skills to create income. And I think a lot of people that are artists and creators could be great at real estate investing. And business acquisitions. I think real estate investing and business acquisitions, because there's such a similar process and there's actual cash flow involved in the transactions. Anybody that doesn't have a formal education could come into either one of those systems and do really, really well. Like if I was looking back now, when I talk to 20-year-olds at conferences, that's what I tell them. Like, dude, just buy a company. Just buy a company for between $3 and $5 million that spits out, $500,000 in cash flow or $350,000 in cash flow, and you already made it in life when it comes to income. That number right there, 350 to 500, that's a nice number.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really, really nice number. And now, because of Biz Buy Sell or Zillow or any of these things, you can find properties or businesses or whatever and mix and match that strategy of loaning, or you guys buy stuff cash.
Well, a
lot of other people use all the loan lenders and everything.
We use lenders and stuff. So,
but you are way more heavy on buying in cash, right?
Like
in certain situations.
Yeah. I mean,
why?
If it's
because you can get a better deal, or you can close something that the other person can't because they don't have the cash up front.
No, I mean, if you have a pulse, you can darn near get a loan on a investment property.
I was gonna say that, but you said it for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, like a lot of stuff, like just raw land. It's difficult to get a loan on unless you just have, Pat gives me, 300 grand to invest with, right? Then that's super easy. To do it at scale, you got to have cash. Or a lot of properties that we buy are in that 30 to 70K mark. And so you can't really go get a loan on it because, the 1 point's going to be $700 and then, 10% interest, you're paying what? But I don't even do the math right now. $700
Well,
a month.
yeah,
or
but
some,
I mean, if you're
some shit
that's
like
a
that. So
you're not buying $500,000 houses.
no, we actually bought two. Well, actually, we haven't closed on any. We closed on two this month, for the first time, probably in a long time, that the value's over probably 400,000.
Well, and I think this right here, I'm glad we've reached this little crossroads in the conversation because this is the difference between a real estate investor and a real estate agent, in my opinion, because an agent can't make money doing what you're talking about. They need something that's going to provide them somewhat of a percent of the commission of the sale, which means they have to go the complete opposite route, which is something that's going to go on market with a traditional loan at X amount per month, right?
So that is actually one of the unique differences in the brokerage that we just started. So it actually just went live, I think, Monday, Ambition X Ambition X Real Estate. And so we're treating the agent side totally different by showing them how to think and act as an investor to make them better as an agent whenever they go to sell it, whether it's retail or it's to sell an investment property. So not only are we teaching agents how to do that, but we're giving them a platform to acquire deals for us, how to underwrite deals as an investor. We're giving them our properties that we're buying. We're giving them listings to sell, teaching them the best way to sell an investment type product. And then they're going to be able to convert that over into the retail world to where most agents just stab a sign and smile and wait, to where we're just as proactive selling them as we are buying them. And so whenever you tie all of that together, like, it's an unstoppable force because most retail agents, there are some that do the work. Most of them don't. And so with our brokerage, we're looking for specific individuals that want to come in, that want to learn, that wants to do the work, and we are almost darn near guaranteeing them, like, this is the yield that you're going to get if you give us the output.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude, I've always wondered why there wasn't somebody that would like connect all these agents that aren't making any money. And by the way, don't get mad at me for saying that. If you're a real estate agent, there's like 85% of real estate agents, or 60, whatever the number, more than 50%, more than half, way more, that don't make any money. And everybody knows that statistic. It's a tough business. And then whatever, all those regulations, I don't know what they are or how they affected people. I guess you had to disclose whatever the commission was or whatever if somebody asks. How was that whole ruling?
From what I understand, is you used to be able to put it on a listing, like, I'm willing to pay 3% commission if you bring a buyer. Now you can no longer do that on the listing. And so 9 times out of 10, whenever we have an agent representing a buyer come to us, they don't ask, is the property available? Are we going to get this deal together? The first thing they ask is, what's my commission? And then we tell them, and then they go. So even though the law changed, like, most agents still look at their pocketbook before they take care of the client.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, business is difficult, and you're a real estate agent. You're in the business of making money. I would be interested in, like, how can I just get as many people like what you're doing? You got to create a place for people to feel comfortable going after it, and even if they get a couple deals a month, well, then they're able to multiply. How can I help somebody get a couple deals a month?
Just show
And then
up.
how can I grow that group of people?
Yeah.
Because
not.
the whole real estate agent thing, I think it's harder to be an agent than it is to be an investor.
Yeah, because there's really, I mean, other than word of mouth, right? If I didn't know anything about real estate and I needed an agent, like obviously I would ask friends first. And then if nobody had any recommendations, then, I'm just going to Google or something.
Right.
So, I mean, I got to be careful how I say this because I'm eventually going to be marketing to agents. But like agents
Well,
kind of
yeah,
have that.
it's no hard feelings.
Agents kind of have that. Oh no, there's hard feelings in the DMs. Um, agents kind of have that blind commitment. So they're not willing to spend the money to invest in themselves in terms of like marketing and things like that. Like I don't, we buy a lot of houses, we walk a lot of houses, and very rarely do you see any information from agents. Investors, the stack's like, a mile high and there's nothing from an agent. So, if I were going to be an agent versus an investor, which I hope that time never comes, like you just got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, real estate agents generally are horrible at social media too. Like it's cringe usually. There's a couple of them that are good. That Brittany Kosev girl that was featured on the show, she's good. Go follow Brittany. I like her. She's pretty good at marketing herself as an agent, which is probably why her agency or brokerage is working. And she's trying to appeal. We need more women in all business. You guys are way smarter than us. The editors are all dudes, but everybody else in our companies is all women. Because they keep the Santa's sleigh on track, for us to deliver our gifts to the world. But I think it's important to figure out that stuff about your personality too. Like, different personality types, brain types, you have to figure out who's around you so that you can actually move forward. Because you're going to get to a point where it's like business can feel like a hamster wheel sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't ever want it to feel like a hamster wheel for your team or your employees. That's not a good experience. And so how do you make everybody move forward every day, every week, every month? You have to move forward.
Yeah, I think the key to that is really knowing what every single person on your team's goals are, and you help them, push them, and drive them to accomplish that. So, you brought Dan up earlier. Dan says, grow the people, you grow the team, or you grow the business. And so, like one of our main acquisitions guy, he had a goal for income wise that he wanted to hit, and we're like, dude, you're gonna hit 2x that this year. So like our goal as a company is I want to pay that dude a minimum of 400 grand this year to buy deals for us. And so like that's one of my rocks that I look at, that I check every month. Are we tracking, to pay him what I want to pay him? And so if you do that with every single person and track their goals, not professionally but also personally, then it helps create that culture.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, the happiness of the group. I mean, dude, we used to have to work 7 days a week, all of us. And now it's like all the guys have a way more lenient schedule because we're more efficient. We got new tools, got new blueprints, got new SOPs. Everybody's got a certain amount of tax. We mark it all off inside of a spreadsheet every day, see what everybody's got coming in and out. We also increased what's coming in. Like I started doing all these streams. These streams are so convenient for everybody. Anybody out there that's not just hopping on calls with anybody on the planet to network and posting it on social, you're crazy. This is so easy and fun and useful. And then you can take it all and chop it all up. And you can have anybody come on at any time. So making yourself available for that's important, especially if you're a real estate agent. Everyone needs a house. And so at some point, if they need the money to buy a house because they're not an investor, which is like, I don't know what percent, but probably a large percent of people that buy houses in America are not investors. They just want a place to live.
When I was researching the lawn care business that I almost started a few years back, I think the statistic was most people stay in their house move every 4 or 5 years. And so I was on the like customer retention part of it and acquisition part of it, and that was something. So like for agents, you gotta lay the crops now, and then just give them time and just be there. But so many people just need that. They just want to step up to the plate and hit the game-winning home run without putting in the reps and the practice to give them what they need to do that.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, so ChatGPT has informed me a significant percentage of real estate agents make little to no money, especially in their first year. And this is probably for anything, by the way, folks. It's just that we happen to talk about real estate with Casey because he runs a real estate business. Nerd. So 87% of agents fail within 5 years per NAR. You might know what that is. I don't. Over 50% of new agents quit within the first year. National Association of Real Estate, maybe. 20% of agents handle 80% of the deals, meaning many struggle. 20% of agents handle 80% of the deals. So I always look at numbers like that and I say, all right, well, how do we change that number? What can we do? Even me as a marketer, how can I help real estate agents market themselves better so that statistic changes, even if I get paid nothing for it, if people watch something we make on the show. So if I was a real estate agent and I'm in the 80% that didn't make jack shit of money, I'm going to figure out how to use social media to get people that want to list their property with me. And then I'm going to use social media to get people that want to buy the property from me so that everything starts to come through a page. I don't know. That's what I would do. What would you do? What would you do? You're the real estate professional. I'm just Pat the goofball. But even Pat the goofball can do this now. That's the whole point of me bringing it up. Even I could do it with my phone. If I really wanted to get a property and be able to take the real estate agent test, I want to be a real estate agent. I'm going to walk through the house. There's so much more action that some of these folks could be taking that they're not. What would you do if you had to become one of the 20% of agents that do 80% of the deals?
I would leverage social media, videos, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it, to let the world know and everybody that I knew and came across me that's what I did. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm available to help, give out free pointers, free tips, top 10 ways to sell your house in 2025, the top 10 things not to do in 2025 to sell your house. If you're crazy cat lady, get rid of some cats, like the do's and the don'ts. And then that's 20 videos right there.
Dude, it is. There's so much potential for people to put themselves out there. And that's why, and a lot of these guys, I see them speak and I understand where they're coming from. Some of the guys that get so fired up and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. A lot of you are lazy or this or that. They're not wrong. It's just that if you didn't see the first 22 minutes of the speech, you wouldn't understand the context of why they were that fired up. So sometimes you see people in the entrepreneur or business or sales space and you see a clip of them that has very little context, and then people bum rush the clip and it's like, well, wait a minute here, they're trying to explain a bigger picture. And usually the bigger picture is most people don't achieve 1% of results because the 1% of people that get the highest results in the world are doing stuff that 99% of people aren't doing.
Correct.
That's it. That's all it comes down to. And so 99% of people in the world aren't going to understand you when you start doing things that only 1% of people do and getting results that only 1% of people get.
They call the 99% call that luck.
Which is just, I think that's almost a symptom or a response to a bigger denial in people's head that they're just unwilling to admit that what they have results wise is based on their own behavior and choices. And they're trying to justify blaming that on something else when really it's only you or me or that person that can fix their situation.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because that can be hard. The accountability can be hard. Trust me, folks, I'm an alcoholic. I cannot drink alcohol. If I drink alcohol, my life just goes to shit. So I don't drink alcohol anymore. I will never drink alcohol again. Ever. And dude, again, sometimes I'm freaking hilarious on that shit. But dude, it's not worth it. Because it always goes bad, bro. It's funny for a minute. And then it's like, oh man, it's like he's starting to go. Now I can see myself in my head. I can't believe that people were entertained by it some nights. But they were probably hammered too. So again, I was a product of the environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you try and use those tactics at, the 10X growth conference, it's not going to go over very well, right? So you got to be smart enough to know, all right, well, I definitely don't want to do any of these things in this situation, but if I do these 3 things, it's going to work out great. And when you are forced to deliver something and everything is depending on it, well, then you get really good really fast. And I also think that thought process is so scary to people that everything would be on the line with like one move or one decision or one thing. But it's like that every day. Every single day that you live and every decision that you make leads you to either the ultimate success or the ultimate failure. And so my ability to pull it off completely 3 shits to the wind. Well, dude, playing for 10 minutes was easy on the lunch break. This is the easiest gig of all time. You mean it's only 10 minutes? I don't have to play for 4 straight hours? Awesome. So sometimes it doesn't need to be as hard as we make it. But you only figure that out by doing the hard work. So real estate agents out there, people can sign up for this, Ambition X?
Yeah, so on Facebook, I think I've been tagged in it. So I'm kind of more behind the scenes on the brokerage, more the marketing and stuff, providing leads to agents once we get going. But yeah,
it's already got you on AI. Look at this.
Yeah.
Forest Hill, Texas?
Yep. Yeah. So there should be a link to go in there to schedule an interview with us and, start going through the system.
Right here. Ambition X is a real estate brokerage in Fort Worth, Texas that helps realtors learn investing while making money. They already got you guys on AI.
There you go.
Dude, that's great. All because you got a Facebook page. See how important that is? Now the AI knows. The AI knows they have a Facebook page, and the AI reads the description in the Facebook page, shows right up on Google.
Yep.
So even if your website isn't there yet, at least make a social media page so you rank on Google so that you can eventually send people to a professional website. Again, all that kind of stuff is free. So, so it's free to do this, right? Like you have to be a real estate agent.
Yes.
So you're looking for people that are you're looking for people that are actually licensed, that are doing deals too, right? What's the criteria here, Casey?
Licensed, are willing to get licensed, that pretty much has the go-getter attitude and is coachable.
Yeah, if you have no real estate license and you're willing to get one and then go work for someone and you don't take the action, dude, you're crazy. Because there's so much more opportunity in entrepreneur and sales and business world, in small business world in America right now than there's ever been because of the internet. Like we just literally when did you launch that? Friday or Monday, you said?
The Facebook page I think's probably been up a couple weeks, but the brokerage officially we got licensed and went active on Monday of
Like,
this
dude,
week.
this stuff is right there at people's fingertips now. It's crazy because, I mean, 20 years ago, it wasn't that easy to even know anything outside of, oh, there's a Keller Williams sign on every corner.
Yeah.
Like realty. What is realty? Well, you're a realtor if you work for a realty. I'm like, all right, well, why is it called a realty? What? It didn't make any sense to me. I remember as a kid, I'm like, why are there so many weird terms here? Real estate's very term heavy too, by the way. It's term heavy. Like, I need to do a comedy skit where I'm like, yeah, so I'm talking to this lady about an ARV and she she goes MIA and then blah, blah, blah. But, you know. All right, cool. So what do people need to do to get their first deal? If they're licensed and they haven't done a deal yet because they just don't have a system to follow. I think most people would be successful if they had a system to follow. I think most
100%.
people would do better in the gym and probably lose 10 of the 20 pounds that they want to lose if they had some kind of system to follow.
Yep.
So what system could people follow from today if they're a real estate agent to work with Ambition X and get a deal?
You could go to, yeah, you could go to our social media page for one. Click the link to apply, and that will schedule an interview with Kendall and Nathan. They are more of the agent side, so I can't really tell you what the systems and products of what they're doing. But I mean, I do know whenever you come in here, we're going to teach you three things, and we're going to teach you three things very, very well. How to purchase as an investor, how to sell as an investor, and how to get leads as an agent. And so with those three tools in your tool belt and our system and our, pretty much backing and KPI person to keep you in line, like as long as you show up and put in the work, you should not fail.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, dude. It's brilliant that you came up with the idea to help people think like investors, because I think that's, again, I'm just an outside person, but I've met a lot of real estate people that have made a lot of money in real estate in certain categories. And I've noticed that most of those categories, it's investors. They're not agents. And so if agents can think like investors, the way that they move through the property buying and selling process, then even if they're operating on the retail market, they're going to make more money because they're going to understand a deeper substance level of the transaction outside of just, the layout and the commission and what's the listing price or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the main two differences between an investor and an agent. An agent's usually very single path. There's really only one way to get this done. So whereas the investment world, I mean, shit, they're coming up with new ways to do deals, all the time. And
Dude,
so
they're coming up with new terms every day.
Yeah. So whatever's catchy and clicky on the tickety talk is the new way to buy a house now. Yeah.
Novations.
Which is like from what I understand.
There's probably another term that was called before the word novation was entering the scene.
I think it's net listing.
So it used to be called a net listing, maybe?
I believe so.
All right, hold on. ChatGPT. All right. Novation deals in real estate. Novation deals in real estate were called something else before. What was it? This is if that's true. We're commonly referred to as substitution of contract or contract assignment with seller involvement. So even I know what this means. Historically, these types of deals were also lumped under creative financing strategies such as subject to deals. Though subject to differs in that the original seller remains on the mortgage. Yeah, subject to the original mortgage. So I'm taking over their mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm not actually buying the property. Yeah, this stuff's all interesting. I find the real estate terminology thing to be very interesting because usually people that take these terms and come up with new terms, they're trying to sell you on some kind of formula that's been around forever.
Yep, repackaging a pig.
Even ChatGPT. Now that I have ChatGPT, I can talk even more shit. Who is the... Let's see if it tells me Pace Morby. Who is the subject to king? Is often associated with Pace Morby. Hey, look at that. See? There you go, Pace. Even ChatGPT knows you're the subject to king. So there you go. Casey's not a subject to deal type. Let's explain that because it's popular. People know that term sub to, which I find awesome. What's the difference between a creative finance deal and the type of finance that you do or the way that you buy a property? Because you don't take things down for cash flow like that strategy. You go for an assignment fee, correct?
No, we go for capturing value add equity opportunities. So
explain what that means to an idiot.
So if the property is tore up, we want to buy it at a discount to come in and make it beautiful and make a profit.
Right. You're not just taking it over as is.
Correct. So subject to, they essentially, number one was so you can get properties with very little, money down or very little equity by assuming someone else's note. 9 times out of 10, any subject twos that we refer out, which is very often because I try not to market to that type of avatar, is because they're upside down or they just bought the property. So if they sell it a traditional way with all of the transaction fees and stuff like that, they're actually going to have to bring money to the table. And so, if someone's owns a house just bought a house in the last 18 months and they lose their job and go into foreclosure, if they didn't put any money down or, have a very high loan to value ratio, subject to is a good method to be able to get out from under it, but it doesn't get them off the hook because that person that does the subject to, right, it's a promissory note with a deed. And so if that person defaults, the homeowner defaults. And so they're not saved at all. You're essentially the home staying on your credit, everything like that. Yeah, there's ways around it. Oh, it's a rental. I'm doing it whatever, so they can go buy another house. But I mean, it's a good tool in the tool belt. I don't think it's meant to be a solo one-stop shop, do everything. Because I mean, people then buy a house subject to. Say the mortgage is $900 and then they'll turn around and rent it or resell it and charge someone else, $1,600, and they're doing that yield of $500, and then it's just, I don't know. It's a lot of red tape and, what's the word? Exposure.
Well, it's definitely
for very little cash flow.
It is definitely something that, strategically, you gotta do a ton of deals to get the number that you want every month. That's the only thing I look at when I analyze it, and I'm like, So the amount of, unless it was a huge deal, I'd have to do a lot of these to really make any money. And then once something goes wrong, how am I going to pay for it? You're looking at that $500 or $600 a month in cash flow. If the water heater goes out, you're on the mortgage now. You got to pay for it. And if you don't have any money in the bank, you're hammered. So you've got to be careful, especially as a newbie. In my opinion, that's way more of an advanced strategy than a newbie strategy.
I agree 100%.
But I feel like a lot of newbies heard that strategy first.
Yeah. Well,
which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it got them into the game. You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
I think that strategy of, so here, we're going to go back into ChatGPT and we're going to give Pace some more love. Can I use the sub to creative financing style approach to buy an existing cash flowing business instead of Come on. I can't type. A real estate property. All right. Yeah, so creative financing. This is the thing that I like about Sub 2 is the creative financing style approach. That's what I like about it because it can be used for almost anything. That's what I like about it. And so I think that just teaching that way of thinking, how am I going to, because if I was using creative financing over I think people get stuck in that subject to style real estate deal instead of looking at the overarching creative financing thing, which is in my opinion, why his show's called Get Creative and all that shit, is because, okay, you can use cash flow to pay the seller over time. So you can do that in a real estate property or in a business. But with you want to exit the property as quick as possible to get a large lump sum, correct?
Correct.
So how long does it usually take to do a transaction the way that you do it to make $30,000 or $50,000 on a property? 90 days, 120 days?
No, probably on average from close to sales, probably 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months. So like 120 to 150 days.
Yeah, roughly.
Dude, it would take you 150 freaking years with a creative financing property to make the same amount of money you do on one of those deals.
Well, I mean, most people that do it claim for appreciation.
Yeah, I understand, but I want to make sure I explain this in a way that people look at that. Like you said, it's just a tool in the toolbox. You don't always need the hammer. I don't always need the flathead. Sometimes I need the other one, the Phillips, right? Not all screwdrivers are even the same. So not every deal fits that structure. I think some deals do. But again, I think it's important to zoom out on real estate investing or investing as a whole and ask, when am I going to use a creative strategy like that? When is it actually necessary? And what kind of money am I making as a whole? Because I'd rather have a piece of a watermelon than a whole grape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think that's where a lot of new investors in that whole community that you've previously mentioned got lost, was every single opportunity that came across their lap, they tried to fit into this whole subject to method, as opposed to just taking what the deal provided and finding the best exit strategy to maximize profit and velocity.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the exit strategy. So this is a good question for you. So you want to almost know the exit strategy when you buy the property, because you make your money when you buy it.
Correct. Yeah. So we try to underwrite every single deal for a minimum of 2 for sure exit strategies. We usually try to shoot for 3.
Okay, so explain what underwriting a deal means. So if I'm making an offer on a property, when does the underwriting come in? I make an agreement with somebody. I'm on the freaking whatever closer Olympic tour, whatever they're doing. And I agree with somebody and send them a contract that says, I'm going to take over their property at this price. And there's a 25-day inspection period. So I want to try and wholesale this thing.
Well, then you already kind of have what you want to make for doing this before you offer them a price.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just thinking if I'm doing this business, I always try to put myself in the driver's seat. That would probably be my approach.
Yeah. So Pat sends opportunity into Casey's, my desk, marketing page that he wants to sell his house. Right. And so I get on the phone with Pat, get a little bit of information. While I'm doing that, I'm over here looking at the MLS, seeing what the house would go for, figuring out the condition with Pat. And then I start doing the math, like, okay, well, the house is worth $200,000 if it looks like it was built yesterday. Pat's telling me, it's never been updated, so I'm just going to use a ballpark. It's going to be $40 a foot to rehab. It's 1,000 square feet. So I'm going to say roughly $40,000 in work. And so you have your overhead for whenever you buy a deal. So, your hard money, your insurance, paying your agents, all of that on the back end whenever you sell it. So you bake that into it. So let's just say that's 20 grand on this property, minus 40 for a rehab. So now we're at 140 before we make a penny, right? So now how much money do I want to make?
Right.
So for us on a property we want to rehab, it's dollar for dollar. So I would now take another 40 off, and my rough offer to you would be 100 grand.
Right.
And then if you agree with that, then that's when I schedule the appointment to come out and make sure everything that you told me is wrong with the property is actually there isn't more, because sellers
That's what I was about to say.
Always lie. Yeah. So, and then if it's in a area that we absolutely want nothing to do with, we do not want to buy, we tell them that, like, look, I do not want to buy your house. I'll tell you that right now because of XYZ. If I was to buy it, I'd probably be at like 40 grand because that's what the dirt's worth. So, but I do have a big network of people that we give our properties to that we don't close on ourselves. I'd be more than happy to bring them out here and show them your property. And so we kind of just reverse engineer it like that because most of the sellers that we're talking to, they have to sell the property.
Right.
So, it's trying to help them.
Yeah, I think that this is a never-ending cycle with the housing market of people are gonna buy stuff, move, or there was a presentation the other day about when people pass away and how you have to trace all this stuff through all these heirs and all this, and there's this big, huge flow chart thing on the screen, and this guy's going through this whole thing, and I'm like, man, this is like a conspiracy theory plot to find the assassin, only it's a real estate property.
But
and you have to find all these people that are associated with the ownership of this property. It was crazy.
Yeah, there are some instances to where if there's a lot of death in a family tree, it can get really, really bad. And that's a whole creative finance a creative purchasing strategy on its own. If you can only find one out of the 15 heirs, you just buy that one person's rights out and you just start going to town, and it's a time thing. But most times, I'd probably say it's anywhere from 2 to 6 people that you have to hunt down. And it's not that hard if you just know how to do it. So I would challenge that presentation that you saw, and that was probably worst case scenario, just to try to flex and show people that I can do what I can do, when really it's just once you get down to a certain level, you're just repeating that level over and over and over and over again until the money's paid out. So it's not hard.
Well, right. Yeah, and I think that maybe that was one instance out of however many of these properties, because again, it's like you get on a presentation, you get only a certain amount of time. So nobody could ever cover everything in one day or in one speech. And that's the tough thing about conferences in general is if it's not a specific thing, if it's not teaching one specific thing or one specific strategy, it can be really difficult, even if it's a big auditorium, to follow, because every person that comes up and speaks has a different expertise, a different type of success. It's completely different from this speaker or that speaker, the other speaker of the day. It can be very difficult for people to digest how they're going to go get a result when the speakers only talk about what their success is or what their story is or whatever. And it's not based on training you to do a specific thing.
Well, that's usually when the pitch comes in to join my course so I can teach you how to do this.
Right. Instead of just saying, here's how you can do it on your own for free. And if you're really serious about having assistance, contact me, which in my opinion is a way better sales pitch.
Yeah.
And then you can just give people the information that they need, and you can avoid all the things associated with bouncing around some of these ballrooms and, not being around people that are in alignment with your goals. You got to be careful with being an event junkie. There's nothing wrong with events. Events made me, but at the same time, you don't want to get stuck in a situation where you're just constantly sitting in the seats and you're not the person on the stage. You want to be the person on the stage with the successful business, with the success story, and that's going to take you going out there and doing something and building a team so that you actually have something that operates when you're up there talking about business.
Yeah. And so I keep looking over here to the right, and every time I do, it's a new person that just raised their hand wanting to sell their property. So, I mean, we've probably gotten 5 or 6 leads just while I'm sitting here. And
that's great.
That's
the name of the game.
The team's just doing what they're supposed to do.
I love it. Rock and roll. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we could sit here. We could go all day if we wanted to, but I'm going to hop off. Casey's got some stuff to do. He's going to respond to some leads and go out there and create something for yourself.
Not me.
Not me. Right. Use ChatGPT, ask questions, get answers, study stuff, learn stuff. I mean, we learned that, novation is just another term for substitution of contract or contract assignment with seller involvement. Just a fancy word for substitution of contract. So again, don't get too caught up in the hype or terminology or keywords or buzz bullshit. Just go out there and do deals. Use novations, use subject twos, use wholesaling, wholetailing, tail it all, sail it all, and freaking rail it all, man. What the hell? I mean, that's the whole point of business, is to do everything with everybody and find what you're great at. So Casey, thank you for your time today. As always, my friend. And ladies and gentlemen, go out there and be amazing. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
All right.